Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. In the last video I told you we were going to work on trying to get this front bumper together so we could get this wrapped and try to complete the car. So first thing I want to do is this parking pole hole. I need to get this filled in, and then I also want to go ahead and cut this tag bracket off. It kind of protrudes out the bumper. I'd rather just have it all smooth, and then this sand down the bumper and get rid of some of the little imperfections on it, around it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of paper. I'm just going to take a pencil and kind of scribble over it so I could get the shape of this. So I have my shape of my hole now. It's not perfectly circled, it's kind of ovaled at the one end. So basically I just sat this on top and scribbled with a pencil to get the shape. So now I'm going to cut this out. So I have the piece of paper cut out now, so I'm going to be transferring it to this piece of plastic. This actually came from this bumper when I cut it out for these ducts, but if I didn't save this, I was going to use the OEM side skirts because I still have those from when I replaced it with the AeroWorks side skirt. So basically just going to take this tape over this, trace that on here, and then cut this out with my Dremel. So I have the piece cut out. I'll just have the little arrow so I know which way is up. But it is a pretty tight fit. So I picked up this plastic weld kit from Harbor Freight. It was 10 bucks. It was an open box. The only thing it was missing was a screen. So this is just a regular piece of screen like you would have in any window. Basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut a little section out from the underside of the bumper. I'm going to melt this in. I'm going to put my little plug in right here, tape across the top, and try to melt that in through the bottom. I have the plastic welder heating up. Cut my little piece of mesh right here, and I have my little plug taped to the top. It keeps popping up a little bit, but hopefully once I get this melted I can push it down. So to make this a little bit softer, I'm just going to use some propane and kind of heat it up a little bit to help get it warmer, because I don't know how well this plastic welder is going to work. So I'm going to do that real quick, and then I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. So you can see the metal's kind of melted into the plastic. I did use the propane torch to heat it up, and it looked like it helped a lot. This thing does stink really bad. You can see the iron smoking with the plastic residue left over on it. So make sure you do this outside or in a well ventilated area. So I'm going to give this some time to cool off, and I'll flip the bumper up and peel off the tape and then see how that patch is sitting in there. Hopefully it's in there pretty solid, and then I'll decide whether I'm going to use plastic weld to epoxy it in, or it came with like some plastic strips that you could use to melt. So let me give it a couple minutes and we'll see what it looks like. So it's been about 10-15 minutes. I just wanted it to cool off really good. So this is pretty much in there really well. There's like not that big of a gap around it, so I could probably just get away filling this with Bondo, but I'm going to use some 60-second epoxy. I'm just going to mix a little bit of it up, scoop it on here, and then use this little squeegee and try to get it down in the cracks. And if it sticks up any when I go back to sand it down, we'll make it all flush at that point. So I'll put a layer of epoxy on it. It looks like it got down in all the cracks. So we're going to give this time to dry. It says 60 seconds, but I'm probably going to come back in like a half hour and start to sand this down, or move on to the next part in case, and let's do all the sanding at once. Alright, so this turned out pretty good. It's still just a little bit sticky, so I'm just going to keep letting that dry. But you can feel that it filled in those holes pretty well. So this right here, I already removed the little metal clips that hold the tag. I think they'll only fit JDM tags. I never had a front tag on this car. But basically right here I drew a line all the way around and on this side. So basically if you look at the bumper, it's round here, and then this tag bracket kind of comes straight out. So that's why I'm cutting it so low here. Down on this side, I'm actually cutting it up because there's no like indent on this side. So once I get this cut off across here, I could always just shave this down so it's even. So I'm going to take the Dremel and cut that off. Alright, so I got to cut off this big hole. So you can see down here it's kind of rounded. So I have a 80 grit flat wheel for the Dremel tool. So I'm going to kind of 45 off this whole edge right here. Try to clean up all the rough edges. So once I get that done, I'm planning on trying to use this piece in here to at least fill up most of it. But we'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure. I've never done this before. So learn from me cutting my bumper up. So I went ahead and cleaned up all the edges right around here with the Dremel tool pretty decent. And then on this piece, you can see it's flat now. I took a regular grinder with a flat wheel and shaved down all the little lips that was on here. So now if you see, when I set this on here, it's pretty much almost flat. I'm still gonna have to fill this and this in and kind of round off the edges. I have the piece that we cut out taped on where I think it'll be the best. We're still going to have like a little lip here and here, and it's pretty good on the bottom. We're going to still have to sand this and get that curve, but basically we're going to take some of the mesh and melt it in just like we did on that side, and do around here and on the sides. So I'm going to do that real quick and we'll pick back up. I have that section melted in pretty well now. Flip it over. I kind of just scratched it up with the flat wheel on the grinder to make it a little rough. So right now I'm mixing up some Bondo glass. It's also called tiger hair, kitty hair. It's like a million names for it. So I'm going to mix up some and then put my first layer on there, and hopefully it'll start to take shape. Alright, so I got it on. I never used this before, so hopefully this works. If not, back to the drawing board. So in the last clip I showed you we put that tiger hair, or whatever you want to call it, on here, and I just went ahead and sanded it down. It's pretty smooth so far, but like right in here I have like some cracks and whatnot. And if you look at the other side, if I push on it, you can see that this is actually staying how it's supposed to, but the plastic is kind of moving, and that is because it didn't really attach too well to that mesh stuff right here. So I have the plastic welder plugged back in, and what I plan on doing is, it came with these plastic pieces. It was like 12 inches long. So I'm gonna heat this up with the propane torch again, the edges here and here, and I'm gonna just lay these pieces in and trying to melt everything into one solid piece. So I'm gonna do that real quick and I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. I didn't show you what the plastic looked like. It comes with like 25 of these in a plastic welder kit. It's just about a 10-inch piece of plastic. It's not too thick. So I ended up, focus, putting a strip all the way across here, down here, across the bottom and up, and this is what it looks like all melted in. I did use the propane torch to heat it up till it started bubbling. Then I used a little plastic welder thing to kind of smush it down and smooth it out. So I'm just going to give this a couple minutes to dry, and then we'll see if this flex on the bottom is gone. Hopefully it is. And then if that's the case, I'll just go ahead and I'll add another layer of the kitty hair across here, because I want to try to use the least amount of Bondo as possible. But this is already looking better. It's not flexing like it was before. Alright, so here's a second sanding of that kitty hair or whatever. So I showed you before there was a large crack all the way across here. So now that I press it down, there's barely any crack left. There's still a slight one right here, about an inch or so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shave this down with the grinder on the flat wheel and try to create like a V channel and fill that in one more time with some of this kitty hair. And then on the top, where's it at? Right here, where this big rough spot is, I have a little area here, so I'm gonna do that also. So I'm gonna put one more layer of kitty hair on there. Hopefully this is the last one, because that stuff, it doesn't spread out really well like Bondo does. It's kind of thick and clumpy, so it takes a lot to sand down. I do recommend picking up one of these bad boys. It's called DuraBlock. I got Advanced Auto Parts to order me this in. It was like 20 bucks. But basically, it has a curve in the side, so when you're doing this edge here, you can match it up better. And then since it's such a large piece, when you're sanding it, it covers a bigger area than a little 4 or 5 inch sanding block. And also this top side, when you do that, it's a lot better. So I want to shave those little cracks down like I said, and put my last layer of that Bondo hair on, and then hopefully we'll be done and ready for some regular body filler. So before I put the kitty hair on here, I wanted to show you, I just made a channel in there, so it pretty much cut into where the crack was. And so when I put that new layer on there, the edge of the kitty hair will be back here instead of right here where the crack was. So hopefully that makes it look decent. And I'll do a long one on this side. So I'm just going to run the sander over this real quick to make it flat on both sides, and then I'll put the kitty hair in there. If there's any left, I'll work on filling these little divots in a little bit more. Alright, so this is the third sand of the Bondo hair, kitty hair, tiger hair, whatever you want to call it. It's really starting to take shape now. It's starting to get the curve, especially on this bottom side. So like I said, definitely invest in this. It's called DuraBlock. Let me see if I can peel the sticker off. Here's the part number for this. This is about 10 inches long. So basically, you can put the sandpaper on there, and it's got those little cuts in it. So this is how I was sanding the edge like this, to kind of get the curve. So I was using 80 grit to knock this down. It's pretty smooth. I think this is a little high spot right here, but I'm going to sand over the top a little bit more with it once this water dries up, that I'll just dump to get all the dust off. And then I'll go and put some Bondo on here, because it's like only little divots and pinholes in there, and hopefully this thing will be done. I'm going to take off all the canards and the brake ducts and whatnot, and I'm going to tape off this black, and then I'm just going to spray some primer on it to kind of see how it looks, to make sure there's no low spots or anything. And then I'll probably go over it and sand it again with 320 or 400, depending on what I have. So next step, I will show you once I get the Bondo on. So I'll put the Bondo on. I know this is a lot more than I need, so more than 90% of this is going to come off. Hopefully I got all the holes filled in pretty good, and I'll only have to do one layer. But if not, not a big deal. I have plenty of sandpaper and time, because there's no more track days till next year. So I'm just going to let this dry for a while. I'm not sure if it's going to be dark by the time this dries or not. So if not, next clip may be tomorrow, if not later tonight. But this is what it's looking like so far. If I was smart, I would have sanded this down too and made sure there was no Bondo needed on this, but kind of forgot about it. So when I sand that down, I'll sand this down too. So I did put the Bondo on, and it sanded out pretty good. There's some parts, I don't know if you could see it, it's a little rough still, because I got a little aggressive with the higher or the lower grit sandpaper. So I have to clean up this area where some of the Bondo got on the bottom section. There's still like a couple little pinholes, but instead of just doing this section with Bondo, I'm gonna remove the vents, the canards, and there's like little nicks in the bumper here. I believe there's some down here on this side. So I'm going to work on cleaning all that up at one time. I did go back and sand out this section. I'll throw a little bit of primer on it to see, but you really can't see the antenna hole anymore, so it's looking pretty good. Just needs a light sand over it and a little bit of Bondo. So I'm going to remove these, and then I'll go through and sand all the little scuffs with 320 and see how rough it is and see what I need to do to fix it. Alright, so the bumper is smooth. There's like a couple spots like right here where I'm not too worried about it because the brake duct will cover that. But like all up in here where it had some damage, it's smooth across here where the license plate filler used to be. All right across here, everything's looking good. Had some deep gouges down in this area. Those are all smooth now. So I'm pretty happy with this. Like I said in lots of my other videos, I'm no body man. I have very minimum body experience. I just kind of look at things and kind of figure out how they go. So I'm sure there's a different way to shave this front tag bracket, but this is the way that I went about it, and it came out pretty easy. Anybody could do this at home. You can get everything you need at like AutoZone or Advanced Auto Parts or something like that. If you have any questions on what I used or any of the sandpaper grits or anything that I use like that, feel free to send me a message or a comment down below and I'll get back to you. But until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.